Imagine holding in your hand a single object that weighs no more than a few grams. Yet inside it, compressed like a diamond, sits an entire nation's dream. A revolution fought. A republic born. An identity hammered into metal. This is the Cinco Francos of 1891. And once you understand what it took to put this coin into existence, you will never look at money the same way again. In 1891, the Dominican Republic was a young, fragile nation, barely 4 decades old, surrounded by powerful enemies, drowning in debt, and desperately trying to prove to the world that it was real. That it was sovereign. That it was civilized. That it deserved a seat among the great nations of the earth. One of the most powerful things a government can do is mint its own money. Not just for trade. Not just for economics. But as a statement. A declaration. A flag made of silver. This coin was that statement. And in this documentary, we are going to follow every thread of this story. The artists. The politicians. The history. The silver. The woman on the face. And what this tiny disc of metal tells us about an entire civilization's hunger for dignity. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. This channel exists for one reason, to take objects that most people walk past without a second glance, and reveal the astonishing worlds hiding inside them. Today's object is a coin. But by the time we're done, I promise you, it will feel like an entire library. So stay with me. Settle in. And let's begin at the beginning. To understand this coin, you must first understand the island. Hispaniola. One island. Two nations. One of the most turbulent, fascinating, and heartbreaking stories in the entire history of the Western Hemisphere. Christopher Columbus landed here in 1492. He called it the most beautiful land human eyes had ever seen. The Spanish built their first permanent settlement in the New World right here, the city of Santo Domingo, which still stands today as the oldest continuously inhabited European city in the Americas. But beauty has never protected a place from tragedy. For 3 centuries, Hispaniola became a battleground, for empire, for slavery, for survival. The Spanish controlled the eastern side of the island. The French, after a brutal series of wars, took the western third. And it was the French side that became the site of history's most successful slave revolution, Haiti, which declared independence in 1804. The eastern part of the island had a different story. And a more complicated one. In 1822, Haiti, fearing a return of French colonialism, invaded and occupied the Spanish-speaking eastern side of Hispaniola. For 22 years, the Dominican people lived under Haitian rule. On February 27, 1844, a date that every Dominican child still knows by heart, a group of patriots led by Juan Pablo Duarte seized the Puerta del Conde gate in Santo Domingo. They proclaimed independence. They raised a new flag. They declared a new nation, La República Dominicana. But independence is easy to declare. It is brutally hard to build. For the next 40 years, the Dominican Republic would be torn apart by coups, civil wars, foreign interventions, and economic collapse. At one desperate moment, the government even asked to be re-annexed by Spain, which happened briefly from 1861 to 1865, before another independence movement threw the Spanish out again. By 1891, the year our coin was minted, the Dominican Republic was 47 years old. And it was exhausted. The country was carrying massive foreign debt. Its currency was a chaotic mess of foreign coins, debased copper tokens, and paper money that almost nobody trusted. Different regions used different coins. Trade was difficult. Confidence in the government was low. The president in 1891 was Ulises Heureaux, known by his nickname Lilies. A complex, controversial figure. Authoritarian. Cunning. Deeply pragmatic. He understood something important, that a nation without a stable, respected currency is a nation that cannot be taken seriously. And so, in 1891, his government did something significant. They commissioned a proper national coinage. A complete monetary system, with beautiful, carefully designed coins, that would show the world that the Dominican Republic was modern, organized, real. The Cinco Francos was the crown jewel of that effort. Let's look at this coin the way a detective examines a crime scene. Slowly. Methodically. Missing nothing. The first thing you notice is the size. This is a large coin, approximately 37 millimeters in diameter. That's close to the size of a modern half-dollar or a 50-euro-cent piece. You would feel this in your hand. There is weight here. Presence. The metal has a warm reddish-amber tone. This is called toning, and it's one of the most beautiful things that happens to old silver coins over time. As the silver reacts with trace elements in the air over decades, it develops these gorgeous iridescent colors, golds, coppers, purples. This is not damage. This is age made visible. Look at the edge, finely milled, with careful reading. This was not just decorative. Milled edges served a crucial anti-counterfeiting function. Anyone who tried to shave silver off the edge of the coin would immediately destroy the reading, and the fraud would be obvious. Now the face. The obverse. Here is where this coin becomes truly extraordinary. In the center is a portrait of a woman. She faces left, as was conventional for this type of European-influenced coin design. She is wearing a plumed helmet. Her hair is elaborately dressed, with curls and braids. She wears a necklace. She has the bearing of a queen, or perhaps something more than a queen. She is an allegory. A symbol. She is the Republic itself. This type of figure, a noble woman representing a nation or an ideal, has roots going back to ancient Greece and Rome. The Romans used the figure of Roma, a helmeted warrior goddess, on their coins. The French Republic used Marianne. The British used Britannia. The Americans used Lady Liberty. The Dominican Republic used her own version. This unnamed, dignified, helmeted woman. She is the personification of La Repubblica Dominicana in her finest hour. Look closely beneath the portrait. You can see the name, Tasset. This is the engraver's signature. The artist who carved the master die from which this coin was struck. In the world of numismatics, coin collecting, these small signatures are like the painter's name in the corner of a masterpiece. They connect a physical object to a human being who crafted it with their hands. Tasset was a Belgian engraver, part of the tradition of highly skilled European die cutters who were commissioned by smaller nations who wanted world-class artistry on their new national coins. Belgium, in the late 19th century, was one of the great centers of coin engraving and minting in the world. The fact that the Dominican government commissioned European artisans for this coin tells us something important about the mindset of the era. They wanted this coin to be recognized and respected internationally. They wanted it to meet the standards of the great coinage traditions of the world. This was a coin that was meant to travel, to be accepted, trusted, and admired far beyond Caribbean shores. Around the portrait, you read, Cinco Francos. And the date, 1891. Cinco Francos. 5 francs. Here is where things get fascinating for monetary historians. Why francs? Why not pesos? Why not dollars? In 1891, the Dominican Republic was attempting to align its currency with the Latin Monetary Union, a remarkable 19th-century experiment in monetary cooperation that included France, Belgium, Switzerland, Italy, and Greece. These nations had agreed to standardize their coinage, same weight, same silver content, same denominations, so that coins from one country could circulate freely in the others. The Dominican Republic was not officially a member of the Latin Monetary Union. But by denominating their largest silver coin in francs, and minting it to the exact same specifications, they were signaling their desire to be part of the modern, interconnected economy of the world. It was monetary diplomacy. Stamped in silver. Now turn the coin over. The reverse. Here you find the coat of arms of the Dominican Republic, one of the most symbol-rich national emblems in the entire Western Hemisphere. At the center is a Bible, the Word of God, the foundation of a Christian nation. Over it, a cross. Surrounding it, the Dominican flag's blue and red sections. On either side, a palm branch and a laurel branch, symbols of peace and victory. Above, a ribbon with the national motto. And what is that motto? Dios, Patria, Libertad. God. Fatherland. Liberty. 3 words. Entire civilizations have been built on less. Entire nations have burned trying to achieve more. These 3 words were not empty slogans in 1891. They were the hard-won ideals of a people who had fought for their existence, against colonialism, against occupation, against erasure. Every time a Dominican citizen reached into their pocket and touched this coin, they touched those words. They held that promise in their hands. Before this coin could be a coin, before it could carry a portrait and a motto and a year, it had to begin as something far more primitive. It had to begin as silver ore, dug from the ground somewhere in the world. In the 1890s, the great silver mines of Mexico, Bolivia, and the American West were pouring enormous quantities of silver into world markets. The price of silver was actually falling throughout this period, partly because so much of it was being mined, which made this an affordable moment for a smaller nation to mint large silver coins. The silver would be refined to a specific purity. For this coin, the standard was 0.900 fine silver, meaning 90% pure silver and 10% copper. The copper wasn't contamination. It was deliberate. Pure silver is too soft for everyday use. The copper alloy, called coin silver, gave the coin the hardness it needed to survive years of handling. The most skilled and painstaking part of making any coin is creating the dies, the steel stamps that strike each blank disc into a finished coin. Our engraver, Tasset, would have begun with a large model of the design. Sometimes painted, sometimes sculpted in plaster or wax. Working at several times the actual coin size allowed for far more detailed and precise artistry than working at actual scale would permit. This model was then mechanically reduced using a pantograph, a device that traces the large model and simultaneously carves a tiny version of it into a steel hub. This was cutting-edge technology in 1891. The combination of artistic genius and mechanical precision produced portraits and details that are breathtaking even today, examined under magnification. The hub was then used to make the working dies. Each working die could strike thousands of coins before it wore out and had to be replaced. But all those coins, thousands of them, all traced back to that single, original artistic vision. To Tasset's hands. The moment of striking is violent and beautiful. A blank disc of silver, called a planchet, is placed between the obverse die and the reverse die. The press drives them together with enormous force, many tons of pressure, in a fraction of a second. In that instant, the silver flows into every tiny groove and detail of both dies simultaneously. And then it's done. A coin exists that did not exist a moment before. Complete. Perfect. Carrying a portrait, a coat of arms, a date, a denomination, a motto. Each Cinco Francos weighed exactly 25 grams. Its diameter was 37 millimeters. These were not arbitrary numbers, they precisely matched the French 5-franc piece of the same era. The Dominican Republic was literally making a coin that was physically identical to one of the world's most respected currencies. Hold them side by side, and the ambition is obvious. The Dominican government was saying, our money is as good as France's money. Our nation is as real as any nation in Europe. We belong at the table. Now, let's talk about rarity. Because this is where the story of the Cinco Francos gets even more interesting. The 1891 Dominican Republic Cinco Francos was minted in limited quantities. Exact mintage figures are not always perfectly preserved for 19th-century Caribbean coinage, but numismatic research suggests that relatively few of these coins survived in high grades. Why? Because the Dominican Republic of the 1890s was not a place of peace and stability. Ulises Heureaux, the president who commissioned this coinage, was assassinated in 1899. Political upheaval followed. Currency reforms happened. Many of these coins were melted down, lost, or simply spent into oblivion through hard daily use. A coin like the one you're looking at right now, with this quality of surface preservation, this depth of original strike, this gorgeous natural toning, is a genuinely significant numismatic artifact. It has survived more than 130 years. It has outlasted the man who commissioned it, the monetary system it was part of, and several Dominican constitutions. The world of coin collecting, called numismatics, from the Greek word for coin, is one of humanity's oldest hobbies. And it is far more than a hobby. It is scholarship. It is archaeology. It is art history. It is financial history. All compressed into objects you can hold in your hand. Serious numismatists don't just collect pretty things. They study mint marks and die varieties. They trace the political and economic conditions that produce specific coins. They read the physical evidence of circulation, the wear patterns, the banker's marks, the counter stamps, as a historian reads documents. A coin like this Cinco Francos is a primary historical source. It tells you things about 1891 Dominican Republic that no textbook might mention. The choice of the French franc denomination tells you about monetary diplomacy. The Belgian engraver tells you about the government's aspirations. The quality of the strike tells you about the resources available. The toning on the surface tells you about how it was stored. Every physical characteristic is a data point. Every scratch is a story. If you own a coin like this, or if you hope to one day, there are a few things you must know. The single most important rule: never clean an old coin. Never. Not with any liquid, not with any cloth, not with any chemical. The toning you see on this coin, those warm amber and golden colors, represents over a century of careful chemistry. It is irreplaceable. Cleaning a toned coin removes that patina forever, destroys the surfaces at a microscopic level, and dramatically reduces both the historical value and the monetary value. Handle coins only by the edges. The oils and acids from human skin cause long-term damage to metal surfaces. Store coins in acid-free holders, away from humidity and temperature extremes. And if you ever have a coin of potential significance, have it professionally examined by a reputable numismatic authentication service before making any decisions about it. These objects survived 130 years to reach you. Your job is to help them survive 130 more. Let's spend some time with the woman on this coin. Because she deserves more than a passing glance. The tradition of using a female figure to represent a nation, an ideal, or a republic is ancient. It goes back to Greece, to the goddess Athena, patron of Athens, who appeared on Athenian silver coins for centuries. It goes back to Rome, to the figure of Roma, the eternal city personified as a warrior queen. Why female? Historians have offered many explanations. Some point to the grammatical gender of words like republic and liberty in Latin languages, both are feminine. Some argue that female figures were seen as unthreatening, they represented ideals rather than specific rulers or political factions. Some suggest that the combination of strength and beauty embodied in these figures communicated something about the aspirational nature of the values they represented. Look at the helmet she wears. This is a plumed military helmet, classical in style, evoking both ancient Greece and ancient Rome. But it's also a Caribbean woman wearing this helmet. There is something powerful in that combination, the ancient Western tradition of freedom and civilization, placed on the head of a figure from this particular part of the world. For the ordinary person in the Dominican Republic of 1891, a farmer, a merchant, a seamstress, a soldier, what did it mean to receive this coin as payment for their labor? To hold it. To look at this face. To read, Cinco Francos. República Dominicana. Dios, Patria, Libertad. It was a small but significant affirmation. Your country has its own money. Your republic has a face. Your labor has been recognized in metal that carries your nation's name. In an era before radio, before television, before the internet, coins were one of the primary ways that governments communicated with citizens across vast distances. Kings put their faces on coins to remind their subjects who ruled them. Republics put allegorical figures on coins to remind their citizens what values they were supposed to share. This coin was, in a very real sense, a piece of propaganda. But it was also a piece of promise. A contract between a government and its people. We believe in God, in the fatherland, in liberty, and we are putting that belief in metal, and putting it in your hands. The story of this coin is inseparable from the story of what happened next. And what happened next was not good. Ulises Heureaux, the man who commissioned this coinage, governed with an increasingly iron fist through the 1890s. He borrowed enormous sums from foreign banks to fund his regime. The national debt spiraled out of control. He was assassinated in July of 1899, shot dead on a street in the town of Mocha. The political chaos that followed destroyed what remained of monetary stability. The Dominican Republic defaulted on its foreign debts. European powers threatened to intervene to collect what was owed. The United States, exercising the Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, stepped in, placing Dominican customs houses under American control in 1905. For many years, the Dominican Republic effectively lost control of its own finances. The beautiful coins of 1891, this vision of monetary sovereignty, gave way to a complicated era of foreign financial control. And yet, here is this coin. Still here. Still beautiful. More than 130 years after it was struck, in a Belgian mint, from carefully refined silver, by the hands of an engraver named Tasset, it has survived the assassination of the president who commissioned it, 2 world wars, the American occupation of the Dominican Republic from 1916 to 1924, the brutal dictatorship of Trujillo, the Civil War of 1965, and the entire tumultuous history of the 20th century. Coins are remarkable in this way. They are built to last. Made of metal, designed to circulate, passed from hand to hand across generations, they carry the moment of their creation forward through time in a way that almost nothing else does. When archaeologists dig up coins from ancient Rome, 2,000 years old, still readable, we understand something profound about the persistence of metal and the ambitions of civilization. This Cinco Francos is not 2,000 years old. But it is on the same continuum. It is a time capsule. A message in silver, sent from 1891 to wherever and whenever you are right now. And the message is, we existed. We dreamed. We tried to build something worthy. Remember us. We began this journey with a question. What is this coin? And we found the answer is layered, like the coin itself. It is a piece of silver, struck with steel in Belgium in 1891. It is a statement of monetary ambition by a fragile Caribbean republic. It is a portrait of an ideal, strength, dignity, freedom, given a face. It is a declaration, Dios, Patria, Libertad. It is the vision of a government that wanted to belong to the modern world. It is the work of an artist named Tasset, whose hands touched the metal that touched these dies that struck this coin that you can hold in your hand today. And it is, perhaps most of all, a survivor. Objects like this remind us that history is not abstract. It is not just names and dates in books. It is physical. It is touchable. It is real. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can pick it up and turn it over in your hands, and feel the weight of everything it has witnessed. If this video opened up something for you, if you found yourself seeing money differently, or history differently, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps this kind of content reach the people who need it. Subscribe if you want more journeys like this one. We have explored Roman sestertii, Islamic gold dinars, pirate pieces of 8, and coins from civilizations that no longer exist. Every single one has a story this rich. Maybe richer. And if you have a coin, or any object, whose story you want me to investigate, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, keep looking closely. The world is full of miracles hiding in plain sight.